Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we are starting our path to the Charles Martel. And that can only mean one thing, guys. We're on Tier 3 French cruiser Duguay-Trouin. That's the best I got. I have no idea how it's actually pronounced. For those of you who speak French, I apologize for everything that you're about to endure on all of the pronunciations of this line. So, yeah. With that being said, let's take a look at our commander. Now, we are running Andre Lemonnier. We have Isiroko Yamamoto and Nikolai von Essen as our inspirations. We run Beyond Range, Igniter, Punch Through, and Fixated with Fully Packed as our inspiration, or as our skills. Now, there are other commanders that you could run, but personally, this is what I've been using. So let's look at the commanders for the... We've got Louis Dufournay, who I believe is the just everybody commander. Like, it can do a little bit of everything, but nothing amazing. So, like, not really recommended. But, I mean, you could potentially run a Will to Rebuild, which could be interesting in a division. Just saying. And then Andre Roux, also. Andre Roux is the damage sponge, or the agile commander, depending on who you talk to. But yeah, if you want. Like, again, it's not what I would recommend. These things have amazing armor piercing that you want to take advantage of, and we're going to showcase that in full force on this first episode. And you're going to see a lot of AP throughout this entire thing. A lot of people play these French cruisers as fire starters. I prefer to play them more along the lines of my American and Russian cruisers with AP. I don't like to spam HE, you guys know this, so I work for positioning and trying to get HE, or AP, sorry. So let's look at our thing. We've got Aiming Systems Mod 1 on there for obvious reasons. We are fully upgraded, of course. And we are running the Alpha Tester flag and the Type 3 Camo, which gives us a -3 detectability and a +3 incoming fire dispersion. So just a little bit of extra help to keep people from hitting me, preferably. It does have sonar, which allows you to detect ships only out to 3.5 kilometers, though. So it's not the best sonar in the world. And then it does last for 90 seconds, which is nice. And detects torpedoes out to 2.5 kilometers, which gives you generally a pretty good chance to dodge most torpedoes. These things are pretty shifty on their own. You don't really need a full agility build. So 26,700 hit points with a 4% torp reduction. Artillery, you get 155mm 50 caliber MLE 1921s. You get 8 of them in 4 double turrets. 2 at the front, 2 at the rear, so you get 4 guns over the front, 4 guns over the rear, 8 gun broadside. They reload in just 12 seconds, and 180-degree turn time isn't too bad at 22.5 seconds. They fire HE with a maximum damage of 2,200 and a 13.5% chance to set fires. And then the AP has a maximum shell damage of 3,564. For torpedoes, you get 550mm Lance torpedoes. I apologize. You get 12 of them. You get freaking 2 triple launchers per side of the ship. I had to think for a second. Reload time 84 seconds, so 1:24 seconds. Maximum damage of 12,233 with a torpedo detectability of just 1.2 kilometers, which is decent. And torpedo range of 6.5 kilometers and torpedo speed of 58 knots. AA defense 13.2mm 76 CAD MLE 1929s. You get 12 of those, reaching out to 1.2 kilometers and doing 21 damage per second. And 75mm 50 caliber MLE 1922. You get 4 of those, reaching out to 3 kilometers and doing 7 damage per second. Maneuverability 33 knot max speed with a 670 meter turning circle. So again, pretty solid with only a 7.8 second rudder shift. Again, solid. You could potentially get that better with the agility build, though honestly at tier 3 you don't really need to go that route. Concealment. You have a 10.6 kilometer surface detection with this build and a 6.5 kilometer range by air. And 2 is always guaranteed, 5 kilometer detectability while firing in smoke. Armor. Now this is what's always going to be a little weird about the French cruisers. The armor does not tell you everything in this game. Like, it doesn't. It really doesn't. But the French cruisers have an interesting armor layout. And it is basically that they have spaced armor. Spaced armor, if you're not sure of how things work, spaced armor allows multiple checks for penetration in one hit. Okay, so if every shell that hits the ship goes through a check of whether or not it can overmatch or penetrate the armor, depending on its values, okay? And the spaced armor means it has to go through a second layer of that same thing. So there is every possibility that you penetrate the outside layer of armor, but you fail the check for penetration on the inside layer of armor, meaning you'll get full penetrations for next to no damage. So keep that in mind. These things aren't very heavily armored, but they are sufficiently armored. And like I said, that spaced armor really does help these things, with the exception of battleships. Battleships tend to obliterate them. So be very, very careful with this entire line when it comes to battleships. But you got 13 millimeters in the front, meaning you can be overmatched by everything pretty much. 13 millimeters times 14.3, I suppose, would be a good calculation. 185.9 millimeter guns can overmatch. So pretty much any heavy cruiser in the game. So keep that in mind. 7-inch guns and above go straight through and murder you. Okay, let's take that off. Take a look at the Citadel. And as you can see, the Citadel is way above the waterline, but it's not thick armor. Meaning there's actually a decent chance that even if things pin your Citadel, that it passes right through. Like if you go broadside in this thing, there's a good chance that whatever shoots you broadside is going straight through and going to overpin your Citadel, which is unusual for cruisers, especially at low tiers. However, the one thing I will say is that lack of armor overall means that if you get pinned, much like the American dreadnoughts, if you get pinned through the cheek side, like at this angle, looking through the bow side plating, if you get pinned through here, there's a very real possibility that you take multiple Citadels because it is so high up out of the water. So keep that in mind. When you're going against cruisers and battleships, you definitely want to either be full bow in or full broadside. Do not try to angle, because if you angle, you're going to regret life choices. Okay? Keep that in mind. Alright, fast. Above average maximum movement speed. With a broad launch, a wider maximum spread of the torpedo launcher. Of course, most of us don't use widespread torpedoes. Paper thin armor. Higher caliber shells overpin the armor without arming, causing minimal damage. That's what we already talked about. Duguay-Trouin. The world's first large warship designed and built after World War I. The ship had virtually no armor protection, but carried very powerful torpedo armament. An innovation that was implemented on this type of ship was the arrangement of her main guns in twin-gun super-firing turrets. She entered service in 1926, and there were 3 of them in the series. And when you think that this thing was built just after World War I, you gotta enjoy the fact that it's actually a pretty decently modern-looking hull design. Like, this is actually a way ahead of its time in terms of overall performance. And it plays that way in the game. So, yeah, let's take a look at it. I mean, it's a good-looking ship. I don't actually have a problem. A lot of it sticks out of the water, obviously. But other than that, I mean, it's a good-looking ship. I have no complaints. So, I don't like this side of it. It's too shaded. So we're gonna do the screenshot from this side. So anyway, with that being said, let's get to the gameplay. Alrighty, so we're gonna be on Estuary, and we are bottom tier. There are several tier 4s in here that we're gonna have to contend with. But as you're gonna see in this video, I don't mind going up against tier 4s in these things. Like, most people at these lower tiers just do not have a good time. Like, they don't know what they're doing. So it doesn't matter really what ship you're in. If you know what you're doing, you will absolutely wreck face. And this is no different. Now, I am not a particularly big fan of the Dougie, but we're going to get up in here and we're going to show the enemy team why they should be afraid. Even if they don't necessarily seem afraid initially. But we're going to push up. Like I said, we're on Estuary, my favorite map. You guys know this. I'm going to take a mid position on this map and see if we can help the team as best we can. Now, it's not a guaranteed, you know, position, but you can get away with quite a bit. And we're going to try to do just that. But just as a heads up, guys, I apologize if I sound a little off. Not been feeling particularly good. That's why I didn't do a salt ration today. Just haven't had any energy whatsoever. Kind of reminds me of when I had Corona, to be honest. But I don't think I have Corona. I haven't been anywhere to get Corona, so there's that. But, I mean, other than that, I don't feel sick. I just don't have any energy, man. Just completely wasted the day laying in bed today. But right off the bat, we've got an Emil sitting here broadside, first tier 4 ship that we have to shoot at. We've got HE loaded initially, and then I believe we switch over to AP immediately to start to shoot this man as we knock out his steering with the first shot. We're at a longer range than I want to be engaging, but at the same time, you know, the Emil is a much better ship than this. So getting up close and personal with him is a bad play. But you can see he's already shooting HE at me. We're going to take a hit here, I believe, a couple of them anyway. And it doesn't do a lot of damage to us. But that's when I noticed that this Emerald is about to come around the corner. And we're going to turn out and get our guns to bear on him. We're also going to go ahead and launch torpedoes. Oh, wait, we don't have them because we just launched them like an idiot. But this Emerald is begging for it. He's got an Omaha backing him up. We have all of the Tier 4 cruisers right here on front of us right now. We get angled enough to not take a huge chunk of damage, not getting citadeled by the Emerald. But unfortunately for the Emerald, he can't say the same thing as we reach out and punch him right in the mouth. And then we're going to get a shot here. We were looking to shoot the Omaha here, but unfortunately don't have the opportunity. So we go back to shooting at the Emerald, and we punch him in the mouth again, getting 2 more citadels. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, this thing can do a lot of work. And then as we turn back in, of course, we do have torpedoes on the other side. So we're going to go ahead and drop some torpedoes in the gap here. And just try to use the other side of the ship to get in position to shoot this Emerald again. We know he's a low health ship. We know we can take him out pretty freaking easily. And so we don't need to do a whole lot here. You can see the Omaha is still there shooting at us as we scored another 2 citadels on that poor Emerald. I mean, you sit in broadside to me, you're going to get punched in the mouth. It's just the way it goes. But we have disengaged quite a bit. We are avoiding most of it. We do manage to torp the Emerald, and we send a couple more torpedoes into that smoke screen from the right side now that they've reloaded. And yeah, I'm fully intent on going after this Omaha because I'm not afraid of the Omaha. In most cruisers, I would be kind of afraid of an Omaha because the Omaha can absolutely shred you in the right hands. Plus, it gets a lot of guns over the bow and the stern, so it can be angled and still punch you. So you got to be careful with that. But Omaha starts to run away. So we're going to put ourselves in position to see if we can't help that. Now, Emil's still alive over there, but he's in a position where I can't really do a whole lot with him. We could potentially lob him with HE if we wanted to, but not really going to get a whole lot out of it. So we're just going to push forward, see if we can't get into a position to attack this Omaha and help the team on the left side. Our team has a 3-to-1 cap advantage here, so there's at least that going in our favor. But yeah, we had a little bit of a server lag there. Sorry about that, but that's the way it goes sometimes. But we're going to push up here, and that's when we notice that the destroyers are heading in our direction. You notice straight across from us, there's a destroyer there. So we don't want to rush straight into this gap. We want to give ourselves an out, because I am anticipating the destroyers are actually going to come after us. They are ambush destroyers. They are German destroyers. They have a lot of torpedoes, and they reload very quickly. So they also have pretty solid guns. So we got to be careful of them. And you can see we are getting detected shooting at the Omaha, but I'm not too worried. Omaha's angled away from us, so we're not going to get much in the way of penetrations with the HE or AP. So we switch over to the HE in preparation for the torpedoes or the destroyer that we're anticipating coming around the corner. And so we also are going to be able to start to burn this Omaha down if the destroyer doesn't decide to rush us. But I'm fairly confident he's on his way. You know, I have high hopes that that's exactly what he's going to do as we run into some more server lag. Now, I will say this. I have been having some issues with my PC lately. We're having some CPU cooling issues, but you can see I go ahead, drop torpedoes on this V170, and we have the HE already loaded, and we punch him right in the mouth. We knock out one of his torp tubes, and we're just going to go ahead and start moving forward, angle ourselves so that he's not going to score easy citadels if he decides to load AP. And he does manage to dodge all of our torpedoes, which is unfortunate. But again, we hit him with 6 rounds of the HE and absolutely wreck him as he knocks out one of our torpedo tubes in return. But we're going to turn back out.
All stations,
and see if we can't reach out and touch this man with him sitting in a smoke screen, and I actually get torpedoes. So we'll see how this works out for him. Now again, this is the danger of this thing. The torpedoes seem to always reload relatively quickly. You got good torpedo angles, you've got great HE, great AP. You can do a lot of damage to the enemy team, and very quickly, especially if cruisers decide to give you a broadside, destroyers decide to rush you like this. Like, it doesn't end well for them. And we've already torped one guy in a smoke screen, and it looks like we're about to get a second one, as those torps are tracking pretty well. But unfortunately, we don't actually manage to catch him in his smoke screen. And we've got to start to consider the fact that this Karlsruhe needs to die. Okay, the destroyer is no longer our primary threat. He has backed off. He's no longer shooting us. He's not giving us an easy shot. So we got to get out of here. He did the right thing of getting himself out of trouble. But notice where his other destroyer pal is. Right out in front of us. This is the same destroyer that we just got into a fight with. He's coming around the corner. I don't notice it because I'm freaking tunnel visioned right now on this Karlsruhe. But we're trying to get rid of him, and we are punching him right in the mouth as we have 5 more penetrations. We got an Omaha here that we're going to try to lob a shell on. Not likely to hit him because he's kind of going a little faster than I thought. But you can see the T-22's over here. The other destroyers over here as well. They're pals. So we've got to pay attention to that. And I have my head on a swivel. I'm waiting for it. I have a feeling he's about to come around the corner on me. And so we're going straight ahead, and it's about this point at which he pops up, and there he is, coming straight at me. I'm going to go ahead and turn out. Now, here's where I make a mistake. I know he's launching torpedoes. I've already got the sonar on. I can see the torpedoes. And so my goal here was to turn out and also make sure that we are dodging these torpedoes. I should have slowed down. I should have hit the brakes and slowed down, and I could have dodged these torpedoes. And we still almost dodged them. But unfortunately, we take the one right up the backside, and then as soon as we use the damage con to get rid of the flooding off of him, he gets an immediate fire, and that's unfortunately going to do it for us. And that's the danger of getting into these sorts of fights. You take that stupid torpedo hit, and then you have no damage con. He gets a fire on us, and he's going to be able to burn us down before we burn him down. He is dying, though, so there is that. We're going to be able to kill him as well as he goes down to our fire. We go down to his fire. A little bit of a trade, but we really did do a pretty solid job of controlling the center of the map, going up against multiple Tier 4 destroyer or Tier 4 ships. And coming out on top. Like, the Omaha didn't want any. He took off and ran from us. The Emil didn't want any. The, the Emerald decided he wanted some, and that didn't work out for him. So, it really is one of those things. Like, the better you get at the game, the easier these sorts of games are. And this carrier doesn't even try to dodge torpedoes, which is ridiculous, but to be expected at low tiers. I don't know what it is about carrier players, but they seem to have issues paying attention. They get tunnel vision, but we still had a pretty solid game. 62,000 damage, 6 Citadel hits, 1 torpedo hit, 2 kills. We did our job, and our team is going to be able to pull this win out no problem. There's only a destroyer left, though. I'm not gonna lie, my team seems to have all of the advantage, but they also seem to want to throw their ships away. As we're going to see this Farragut throw his ship away, the Omaha is going to take torpedoes. Like, everybody that's left here is going to screw up except for that battleship captain. And even he screws up, but he at least doesn't get absolutely obliterated for it. But yeah, you'll see what I mean in a moment. So Omaha is heading over towards the Delta Cap, which is the right play. Get the cap, deny the enemy the opportunity to come back, right? So if you grab the caps, the enemy can't come back. That's just the way it is. They would literally have to kill everybody. And good luck having a destroyer kill an Omaha, a battleship, and a Farragut. Okay? All 3 of these ships on their own are pretty capable of killing a German destroyer. German destroyers don't do the most damage with torpedoes, as we saw when we took that torp up the backside. But, if you play around, they can absolutely hurt you, especially considering their torpedoes reload relatively quickly. And yeah, that's going to be shown pretty easily here as this Omaha pulls out. Now, you know this Omaha is spotted. And the reason I say that is because He's going to sit here broadside on to the last known position of the enemy destroyer, and there's going to be a wall of skill come his direction as he gets real complacent capturing this base. And yeah, he's not going to be able to do anything. This is where you need to plan ahead. Like, you know, the last known position of the enemy destroyer was directly off your bow. So turn in, get your bow pointed towards the torpedo threat. Because if you're going to sit still like this, which he shouldn't be sitting still, but if you are going to sit still like this, you have a better chance of avoiding torpedoes if you're giving them the most narrow, like, profile of your ship, which is the bow or the stern of the ship. So either way you want to do this, sitting broadside is literally the worst thing that you can possibly do. But yeah, I'm hoping that this isn't showing up in the video the way it is for me in playback. I thought it was server lag initially, but I think it's actually the thermal, the CPU thermal throttling. But you can see, here's the torpedoes. He detects them. He's got sonar running. But because he's given such a wide angle, and because he has to start from completely stopped, he ends up taking 2 of those torpedoes, losing all of his health in the process. Now, our Farragut rushes straight through the Charlie Cap, through the gap, into the Bravo gap, to try to help find and get rid of this other enemy destroyer. But remember, the enemy destroyer has not lost any health. The Farragut has. So this German destroyer is absolutely going to be able to stomp our Farragut into the mud. And down goes the Farragut. And now our battleship, intent to also throw this, has decided that he needs to put himself in harm's way. There's no reason for him to do this, but he's doing it anyway. And fortunately for us, he's already hit this T-22 and absolutely punched him in the mouth. You can see the secondaries shooting. They're trying to do everything they can, and they're not being stupid. They understand that a T-22 coming out broadside on can only mean one thing. He's dropping torps. So he slows down, he turns in, he dodges these torpedoes. Well done to our Arkansas. And unfortunately for the enemy destroyer, his game is pretty much over at this point, because even if he were managing to cap this, the game is over. We got 950 points and 3 caps, so the game isn't going to last much longer. And if this Arkansas has his way, the T-22 is not going to last much longer either. But I've got some stuff ordered for my PC to try to fix the CPU cooler. I've had this PC for 3 years, and I think the CPU cooler went bad. I've got a water cooling system on my... it's a closed-loop water cooling system. So I think it may have gone bad finally. And I'm going to take it off. I'm going to test it before I go too crazy. And I may end up replacing it completely with a new Corsair 120mm radiator and closed-loop CPU cooler. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought. We've got the Duguay done, 62,000 damage. Like I said, 69 targets hit. Got the memes. And we also got 6 Citadels, so you gotta love that. But if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.